Hey everyone, hope you're all doing okay. Welcome back to Elemental Cartomancy. I'm coming on today to do a walkthrough of Le Tarot Noir. Okay guys, so let me just move this out of the way. Is this going to fit in here? Yeah, that's going to fit in just nicely. So this is the box. It comes in. The box is pretty sturdy. The only thing I would say about the box is it doesn't have any kind of anything keeping it closed. There's no magnetic closure. There's no catch to it at all. So it can just kind of flap open. Now I store my boxes on my shelf, like in a kind of a book style way. So it's not really an issue because it's going to be kept closed by the things around about it anyway, but that's just something to, bear in mind. Um, the way that they come, so you've got the book in here. It comes with this lovely bag. Couldn't think of the word there. Nice kind of a silky-ish bag, velvety bag. And the cards come split into piles like that. And that's the way that you can kind of get them in, fit them in. Now, obviously they come with a bag, so I thought, right, okay, well, I'll store them all together in the bag. So you go to do that, you stick them in the bag, and then you put them in here, and it's too big for this to shut. So either you would need to store these outside of the bag that comes with it in two piles if you want to keep them in the box, or you would just need to store them in the bag outside the box, on their own in the box. I don't know. It's not quite right. Do you know what I mean? It's not the biggest deal in the world for me anyway. Not quite a deal breaker, and it wouldn't stop me getting the deck, but it's just not. I don't know. It's not quite perfect. But that's all I would say about that. Um, the cardstock, the let's have a look at the cards. So let's compare the size. These are massive cards, so there it is compared to your standard Rider-Waite Smith size. So you can see they're a lot broader and a fair bit taller as well. So I've got big hands, so I can manage okay with them. But if you've got smaller hands, then you might find yourself struggling with it. Cardstock is, nice, thick, durable cardstock. It's quite a meaty deck. You can see that it's got this gold gilding, which is really, really nice. I'm actually half tempted to get another copy and to trim it and take it down to just the images, because I think that would be really, really nice. But I wouldn't do that with my only copy. I would want to have like one copy like this and maybe another bit. I don't know. I probably won't do that. I'm just a wee bit tempted to. But yeah, the cardstock is thick. It's quite glossy. I don't know if I already said that, but yeah, it's nice. It works for me. Um, the book, I have to say, this is a bit of an odd book, if I'm being totally honest with you. Um, Now, it is in French, but even that aside, so I've got, you can use like Google Lens and stuff. Google Lens is an app that lets you kind of just um, point your camera at text and it'll translate it for you. So it's not really that big of a deal that it's in French or any other language. I've translated some pages that I just want to get up on my emails. What's odd about this? For one thing, there's no spreads, there's no real information about how to use the cards. Okay, so all of the information that's in here is pretty much on the cards themselves. There's a bit of an introduction here. We do have color image representation here, which is good, the kind of a full size. In fact, is that bigger? It's actually bigger than the cards themselves. Um, Full page color images of the cards, which is quite often nice, when you're taking a book to bed to read with you. It means you don't need to take the cards as well, which can go everywhere. It's always quite handy to have that. Um, so let me just get up my screenshots here, and let's take a look at some of the pages that I've translated. Now I emailed them across to myself. They've all come out of order, so bear with me a wee second. Oops. Right, okay. So yeah, there's a bit of an introduction. I wanted to kind of so this is, as you can see, this is in French. There's no kind of a English section or anything, it's all in French, but I wanted to translate at least some of the pages for you and let you know what they say, just to give you an idea of the kind of information that you're getting with each card. So let's see if I've got the full. I'm pressing buttons that I just don't want to press. There we go. So we have here the full, the Arcanum without number. The full has two names. So this is reference to the full can either be, and we can see up the top here, Lamat or Lefaux, depending on what decks you're looking at. I think this is one of the things that distinguishes a Type 1 TDM from a Type 2 TDM. I believe it's Type 1 that will call them LeFaux and Type 2 Lamat, although don't quote me 100% on that. The Italian word matto designates the madman, the idiot. If we replace the origins of the Tarot de Marseille in Lombardy, so some of this might not have translated perfectly, as is often the case, the Italian perspective. Let me see if I can zoom in here. There we go. That's perfect. Seems coherent to explain the name Matt. The character of the card corresponds well to the image of the medieval madman, with his colourful costume, his bells, his bundle, and his walking stick. Lamat is akin to the Joker of our modern games versions, or to the tarot excuse. I think that's maybe a mistranslation, sorry. In these games, it has no number, does not belong to any suit, and can replace any card. So, and do I want to go on and read the rest? Yeah, so I'll just so you can hear what it's saying. So, like other arcana of the Tarot de Marseille, the Fool belongs to a category of characters on the fringes of medieval society. He is on the road without a clearly defined profession. An animal accompanies him, follows him. It is probably a wolf. The marginal is called the man-wolf. Um, in the Middle Ages, he is considered as dangerous for society as the solitary animal, and this perhaps explains his presence on the card. Such misfits enjoy an extremely negative reputation. Tarot players with such cards try to approach a fantasy and dangerous world. Unfathomable characters like Lamat the Fool are a source of stories and legends. They rub shoulders with evil beings, cross forests populated by magical animals, pass through paths bordered by sacred rocks. The symbolic power is very strong at this time, stronger than the Cartesian reality. The men, for the most part illiterate, share a system of values acquired through orality. It is popular superstitions, ancient beliefs, and religious myths that shape the reality of society without drawing a tangible border between the real world and symbolic world. So first of all, there's some use of the word madman there. It's not really a word that I kind of like to use, but it's taken, directly from the translation that I've got for the book. Um, it seems a lot. I mean, it could be that, I know that in I don't know at all, but I think in France, tarot de Marseille is used, as a game as much as it is a divination system, and it could be that this book is more geared towards the game side of it. Um, it's not really focused very well, is it? So the point that I'm making is you're not coming to this book for, a good description on how to read it as a divination system, how to read it as a tarot card. I don't think, even if you can get it translated, I don't think this book is going to help you out much there. Now, I've not been through and translated all of them, but, I would imagine that it's going to be a similar story for all of them. Now, for each major, we get, the full page representation and the bit of information on it. There's then some general information on the minor cards, and then each of the aces has, its own page and its representation like the majors. The courts, so we get a page describing the kings, and then we get 4 pictures of the kings. And that's the same, we get the queens, and then the 4 pictures of the queens. Same with the knights, and same with the valets, the pages. Then we come to the 2 through 10 suits, and we just have the full page pictures of them. There's no commentary whatsoever. Like not even like just on the whole suit. It just goes cups, and then we get the 9 pictures of the cups cards, and then straight on to coins. And that's pretty much all, folks. You've got a wee bit of a glossary of terms there, bibliography, and that's us. So this isn't. I'm sure this is probably a good book, like if you're wanting to come at it, maybe to play the game of Tarot de Marseille. But if you're going to want to learn to read tarot at all, or Tarot de Marseille indeed, you're going to need more than this book, even if you can read French. So that's the book. I've already said it comes with this really nice kind of I wouldn't call it silk, but it has that kind of a silky feeling bag. So and the cards fit in that quite nicely. But obviously, like I've said, you can't really store them in the box with it. So let's take a look through the cards now. Because it's Tarot de Marseille, I won't be commenting on every single card, particularly not on the pips. But yeah, let's have a look through them, and I can chat if I feel like chatting, and not if I don't. So we start off with Lamat, who is our full. Trying to angle it so that I'm not drowning out the colours. We have Le Battleur, Magician. The camera isn't really picking. The camera is dulling the colours a wee bit here, which isn't great. So they're a smidge more vibrant on the actual card than what I can see anyway in my preview window. La Papesse, L'Imperatrice, or L'Imperatrice, sorry. This is the Empress. We have her counterpart, the Emperor. And we see him in true Marseille style, he's facing the left, we only see the one side of his face. He's making this kind of a 4 shape with his legs, crossing his legs. Le Pape. See these sheep here, the subjects, subservients, what's the word for them? Supplicants. Lamoureux. I would have thought because this is plural it would be les amoureux. But yeah, the lovers, and again, traditional Marseille style lovers where we see our guy in the middle with two women on either side that he's got to choose between. So the lovers card in Marseille is all about choice, and that's what we see depicted here. The chariot. So we kind of see our, you know, well, I was going to say horses, usually it's horses, but not quite sure what these are, but they're going kind of in opposite directions. Justice at number 8, which is another Tarot de Marseille tradition. It was just a tarot tradition. It was actually it was Arthur Waite that changed it, wasn't it? So Justice, the Hermit. La Roue de Fortune, Wheel of Fortune. And we see this representation of the goddess Fortuna's wheel here with the, you know, with the handle for her to come along and turn the wheel. The Force, Strength. Pendu, the Hangman. This deck has a really kind of a Tim Burton feel, I think. Arcanum 13, or the unnamed Arcanum. Temperance. Her face looks traumatized, doesn't it? She looks as though she's seen something she really didn't want to see. She can never unsee. The dress is red on one side and blue on the other. I think that's nice. It's quite traditional in Marseille actually, isn't it? But it's that representation of fire and water, you know, opposite elements coming together. The Diab, Devil. The Maison Dieu. L'Étoile, the Star. La Lune. I love the animals in this deck. So we saw this kind of a dog or wolf represented in the full as well as some of the other cards. And the water as well. The water looks pretty cool. Soleil, Sun. Judgment. the world. Okay, so those are the majors. I'll go through the minors a bit quicker. The aces are beautiful, really, really nice representations. So it's an ace of batons, wands, two. So you can see we've got that traditional Marseille style with pips. Three, you see the kind of a growth coming out. Four, and we can see them woven together a bit, the foundations, you know, getting the start of that kind of a stability. Five, something coming against that stable structure and causing a bit of an uproar. Six, it's that the uproar that we saw has now been harmonized. We see everything kind of aligned again, and we see this growth being promoted. The seven, eight, nine, and the 10. Valet, Cavalier, Knight. The horses are quick killing this. Queen, and the King. So we have our Ace of Swords. Two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. Valet, Cavalier, Queen, King, Ace of Cups. You get this traditional kind of a very ornate cup. Really, really nice. Two. It's nice we get these roots here. Three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, and 10. Traditional 10 of cups where the one big cup pours into the, well, you don't really see anything pouring, but the motion that it's making is to pour into the 9 smaller cups. Filet, Cavalier, Queen, so quite traditionally she's got her cup covered. She's also holding what looks kind of like a sword on the other hand. And the king. And our coins. Ace. And traditionally, as you see, the Marseille doesn't have the numerals on the coins. Not really 100% sure why that is, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this coin looks like it's causing a bit of a disruption at first glance, but in actual fact, the flora, you know, the foliage is using it to as an anchor, as a base point. It's growing round it, and from there it can grow up the way even further. So you're pushed outside your comfort zone, but you know, if you can learn to push past that, then it can be a real learning point. 8, 9, the 10, Filet, Cavalier, oops, Queen, and our King. Okay guys, so shuffling these cards, because they're a bit bigger, well, because they're a lot bigger, it can be a bit of a challenge, I think. So my hands are quite big. I can just about get my hands around to be able to overhand them, you know, that way. If you've got smaller hands, then you might find yourself having to kind of do it long ways like that. Riffling, so doing the riffle shuffle, again, because of the larger size, lengthways is quite a challenge. I can just about get my hands around to be able to, you know, to riffle them that way. I'm not going to try and bridge them though, because they're quite, you know, they're quite solid. What I can actually do is I can riffle them this way. So I've found that I can get them riffled that way, and you get quite a decent riffle on them. So I guess it's just going to depend on, you know, whatever way works best for you. So yeah, let's say I do the usual interview spread with them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get us a bit of a zoomed out view. Oh wow, that looks terrible. Let me see if I can fix this. There we are. It's a bit better, and move this out of the way. Okay. Okay, so a wee interview spread with the deck just to kind of get to know it. So the first question in my interview spread, and sorry, I realised I never spoke about the backs of the card. So these are the backs, just to hold them up for you. They are reversible. Now, I think that's something that might have been changed I think in earlier versions it may well be that the backs weren't reversible, but I may stand corrected on that. So the first question is the deck can tell us a bit about itself. So we've got the Ace of Coins there. So this is a new beginning with a new deck, so it's nice to see an ace coming out. We've got the coins, which is earth. It's the kind of a physical material suit. So who knows? Maybe the deck will be good at kind of a looking at real down to earth problems with us. Um, but I think that it's safe to say that there's definitely a lot of potential, a lot of different directions that we can go in with this deck. It's not carved in stone, as it were, what it what its personality is, what kind of things it wants to deal with. There's certainly, there's options open. The next position is strengths. And we've got another coins coming out. So we've got the four of coins. Now the four is the number of stability, it's the number of structure, links to the emperor, with that kind of aspect of control. Another thing about the emperor is the emperor harnesses, okay? So through the structure and the control and the discipline, the emperor is able to harness the elements. So we see that. So in the four of coins, we're talking about harnessing the element of earth. Now, in some interpretations, we see that in a negative light, where someone is clinging on too tightly to the things that they've managed to manifest, to the things that they've managed to harness. But at its very core, we're talking about it's a stable number. And we're talking about stability in our material realm. Um, so in terms of strengths for the deck, good stable answers, understandable answers, and things that we can relate to, you know. The next is limits, limitations, weaknesses that the deck might have. Okay, apparently one of my weaknesses is shuffling. Um, so we've got the five of coins there. So dealing with change, when our world is kind of a collapsing around about us, when our material world is on the brink of change and that brings distress and unhappiness and whatnot, we might be tempted to, to turn to the cards for advice, but it seems to be that the indication here would be that this is maybe not the kind of deck that wants to deal with that kind of thing. It wants to deal with kind of when things are going well, how can we keep them going well? It's more of an encouragement rather than a kind of a critical kind of a deck is the way that I would read this. Um, the next one is what are you here to teach me? And we've got the devil. So interesting that we get all these coins, all this material stuff in the first three cards, and then what are you here to teach me? And we get the devil. So this to me is all about clinging on to this material stuff and the dangers of that, the dangers of attaching yourself to these things. Um, so maybe here to teach you to think for yourself, to not be so um, to have such a tendency to cling on to the material things around about us. It's about more than just that. How can I best learn from and collaborate with you is the next position, and we get the moon. So the moon for me, the moon. When you come into the moon energy, when you come into the moon card, if you imagine yourself as the fool going through, journeying through the majors. Let me hold this closer so that you can see it. So I'm conscious how the light's shining on it there. When the fool is journeying through the majors, when he first comes to the moon card, it's a fearful time. He doesn't quite understand it at first. He's out of his comfort zone completely and totally. The moon casts a different light from the sun. It's quite a deceptive light. And there's maybe a tendency not to fully understand what's going on around about you. And it's all an analogy for this unconscious realm, this unconscious part of our brain. You know, it's where dreams, bad dreams, fears, our anxieties. It's where all of that comes from. Um, so And the key to kind of to dealing with that is to stop trying to control it, which is easier said than done. I fully appreciate. but to stop trying to control it, stop trying to change it. You're not going to be able to change, to exercise any control over the time of day that it is. The key is to learn to be within that energy, you know, to be one with it. And once you can relax and accept things for how they are, then that fear subsides and we can start to look to see, right, okay, I've accepted the situation that I'm in. Now, how can I make the most of it? Or even just how can I concentrate on surviving this night until the sun comes up in the morning? And then one final card, just for kind of a, going forward, the outcome of the relationship with the deck, that kind of a thing. And that's nice to see. We've got the Nine of Cups coming up there. Okay, so you might call this the wish card. I tend to look at this as kind of a just, it's that kind of a high water energy, that high emotional energy, that emotional connection, fulfillment. It's a really kind of a positive card, I think. At its core, it's about, I suppose the nines are about completion, aren't they? Completion and reflection, and then in the element of water, we're looking at our emotional connections, or our relationships with other people. So it's nice to see that where we started out with all this earth, all these I'm saying pentacles, all these coins, we're starting to come into the more kind of the more emotional realms. So this would, I mean, just looking at this broadly, it would suggest that how the relationship with this deck starts is not necessarily the way that it's going to be for good. We end up in a completely different element than what we started. So be open to that change, and just lost my words. Yeah, I guess just be looking out for it, be open to it, and don't just kind of give up on the deck right away if this kind of a energy doesn't suit you. Give it a bit of a chance to come into the more kind of the more emotional aspects, the more watery kind of a side. So anyway, that is the interview spread. So yeah, all in all, I guess regarding this deck, the cards are beautiful. The images are amazing. Maybe a bit tricky if you don't have like bigger hands, if you've got smaller hands, or if you don't like big cards generally, then it's maybe a bit of a tricky one. But in terms of the art, the art on it, the images, they are stunning in my opinion. Um, the extra, the other stuff that comes with it, like the book, the packaging, maybe left a wee something to be desired. But all in all, it's all about the deck. At the end of the day, it's about these 78 cards, and I can't fault them for that. So I would still recommend this to anyone who kind of likes the look of it. There's maybe just a couple of things to bear in mind if you do decide that you fancy getting it. Okay, so I hope that you've enjoyed this, guys. Take care, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Bye.